Yeah, hey there, Julie. As you were talking about some of those diaries that they were posted online, video of handwritten diaries using Cyrillic or Russian letters to write out English words. We've been working to get some of that translated. We actually have an intern on staff who speaks Russian. This has kind of been slow going, but our team has been able to translate some of Robin's diary entries. And, we're not going to go into a lot of what was written because it was so extremely violent. But the first and a few of the last entries in one of the diaries really do give some context to this mass shooting. The picture you're looking at on screen is in that diary, and the words on the top of the screen say, using Russian letters, say "Annunciation from Memory." This is a hand-drawn sketch of the school, and he writes that, on August 21st of this year, that he visited during teachers' training. The teachers were in the basement, and he wrote discussing how they're probably getting active shooter training, and that he writes, "I'm sure they won't be expecting an attack in the very first week." Back on May 23rd, Robin wrote an entry describing just an obsession with mass shootings, specifically school shootings. Robin writes about having memories of the obsession dating all the way back to 7th grade, and discusses talking about mass shootings with friends when Robin was very young, and how it was even reported to adults at the time. Then on August 20th, in one of the last entries, Robin writes about visiting the church and plans to carry out this act. On August 21st, a final entry in one of the diaries discusses practicing at a shooting range leading up to what was described as the mission. Again, we showed you that one sketch. We are not going to be showing a lot of what was posted online. We really do not want to glorify what happened, but this is some of the context that we're learning about whatever motivation there was. We know Robin appeared to have gone to the school for at least a year in junior high, and Robin's mother retired from the school, it appears, from social media posts in 2021. We've heard from a number of folks who said that she was a long time employee there. That is the tie to the church and school. But the real takeaway here is it sounds like Robin visited the church and school within the last week or so while teachers were there training for the upcoming school year. And it appears the suspect planned this event for the first week of school, seeming to think that people wouldn't be prepared.
AJ, it seems too that in those writings, my understanding is that he was really obsessed with school shootings for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, Robin wrote about this obsession dating back to childhood, and it was something that they talked about all the time. And again, this one page that we are showing you in the video, the hand keeps bringing this knife down and stabbing the school, or stabbing this drawing of the pews there in the church. And as we said there in the top right corner, that says "Annunciation from Memory" when spelled out, kind of using this Russian English code that it appears Robin was using to write these diaries.
Well, and AJ, I'm wondering too, there's a video that's going around social media as well of just a cache of weapons that has various things, hateful sayings, some addressing the president, just all kinds of different sayings. Have you been able to verify that video?
That video does appear to have come from the same YouTube page that we have been able to confirm law enforcement is looking at and believes to be that belonging to Robin Westman. As you saw, I mean, it's all over social media. We've made a decision that we're not going to show some of this, but there are clips for weapons written out as for the children. Just truly horrible things. As you mentioned, there's There does appear to be some political references to the president, and just an obsession with violence.
AJ, you mentioned his obsession with former or past school shootings. Do we know if law enforcement ever got involved back then when he was a child, or when he was talking to other friends about it? Because you mentioned that other friends even brought it up to adults, perhaps. Do we know if this was ever vetted back then?
We don't know that. The police chief earlier today said this individual did not have much of a criminal record. Now, you'd be going back a number of years, it sounds like, when this may have been raised to adults. And again, we're getting that information out of this translation of Russian to English coming directly from the suspected shooter. Some of the things that are posted in there are just so obviously false. It's hard to know exactly what's real and what's not. We can tell you what's written, but we do not know if this was escalated to law enforcement at the time.
Anything that you've been able to learn, we know that the mother worked at Annunciation for decades. Anything you've learned about the rest of the family?
No, we haven't really dug quite that far. We've really been, focusing on trying to understand some of what is, you could describe it as a manifesto. It's almost like a diary, and you can see video of it, flipping pages, and it's kind of slow going, starting to really get a grasp on this. We do know that the suspect here writes, that within the last week to 2 weeks, they were going to a shooting range and practicing. They wanted to, make sure their red dot scope was working properly. They were writing about trying to, find a proper scope to be able to see. And again, as we told you, it appears that a visit was made to the school and the church very recently, within the last week or two.
And my understanding was part of the practicing at the range was to make sure that he could ultimately kill himself at the end of this.
Well, I can't speak to that, Julie.
AJ, you were talking about this manifesto, or more like a diary, if you will. Is that what is written in those Russian decoder letters, or is this something different?
No, what I've been describing to you is what is written in this series of diaries that we see video of, and it appears it's in this almost like code of Russian to English. As I explained earlier, it's not Russian words, it's Russian or Cyrillic letters that spell out a English word. So here's an example I can give you. The word gun would not be the Russian word for gun. It would be the Cyrillic or Russian letters that spell out G-U-N. And that's what we're seeing. Why, we don't know. It's not clear if this individual was a Russian speaker. The folks that we've had looking at it seem to think that he may not, or she may not have been be fluent in Russian, but it seems to have been used almost as a code of sorts.
And any criminal background, any other run-ins with the law that we've been able to find?
We haven't seen anything of substance that would be a run-in with the law. But again, these videos, these diaries, they just have an obsession with suicide, with the end of this person's life. They wrote, there's a lot of whispering in the video, and towards the end you can hear him saying, I love my family and I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
AJ, a lot of people obviously want to know how people obtain their guns. Do we know anything do we know if these guns were obtained legally or not?
We don't know that at this point. We do know this individual, the suspect, Robin Westman, was 23 years old, so would have been legal to, would have been of age to legally purchase, any weapon. And it sounds like, there was a handgun, a rifle, and a shotgun. So unless that rifle was fully automatic, which we haven't gotten an indication of, these weapons would have been legal to purchase over the counter.
And did they have a job, do we know? 23 years old, either someone would be in school or in the workforce at this point?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that yet.
All right. Well, we appreciate all the work you're doing. We'll let you go so you can continue digging and getting
Talk
more
to you soon, guys.
information from us. Thank you so much, AJ.
Yep.